Once again, we're staying in our metal plate underscore 002.dwg file. In the previous video, we set up a basic default dimension style that we can use to place dimension annotation on our AutoCAD drawing. Now, what we need to make sure of now is all our settings are ready to go. So you're on the dimensions layer there in the layer dropdown, and you're using training anno there as your dimension style, training anno. Now you can unpin the annotation panel now as well, because what we're going to do, we're going to go to the annotate tab on the ribbon. Now I know this is a change. We haven't used the annotate tab in Anger before. Now we are, and we're going to be working out of this dimensions panel here. Now, the reason I've done this is I want to show you a neat little tool in AutoCAD. And it's this one here. Can you see on the dimensions panel, there's a dimensions layer there. It's called dim layer override. So if I click on the flyout there, I can tell AutoCAD to always put my dimensions on a dim layer override. So if I set that to dimensions there, it doesn't matter in my home tab on the layer drop down here what layer I'm on. I'm on dimensions anyway, it doesn't matter, but I could be on details, for example. But in here, in the annotate tab, I'm using the dimensions layer for dimensions. Now, the other reason I want to go to the annotate tab as well is in the dimensions panel, you've got this nice flyout here, and there's all your dimension types. You've also got various dimensioning methodologies that we'll cover later on as well. I'll just hit escape to lose that dimension type list. Zoom in on the section view and the side view, and we're going to place some dimensions. Now, before we do anything else, you'll notice training anno has a little blue triangle symbol next to it. That means it's annotative. So you need to set the annotation scale in the model tab here to match the viewport scale where these are going to be displayed. So if I go to sections and elevations layout tab, bottom left here, there's the section view and the side view. Now we have a viewport here, just there. Hover over that viewport. Can you see the standard scale is 1:2? So in order for our dimensions to display, our annotation scale in the model tab should also be 1:2. It's down here on the status bar. Click on the flyout there. There's your annotation scales. At the moment it's 1:1, so they'd be incorrect. So we need to go to 1:2. So our annotation scale is now set at 1:2. So anything we create in the model tab will display in that 1:2 viewport in the sections and elevations layout tab. So we go up to the dimensions panel, click on the dimension types, and we want linear. Make sure that your object snaps are on, because these extension line origins should snap exactly to your geometry. So section view, going to go for this endpoint snap here, left click, and then this endpoint snap here. Make sure you get the endpoint. Can you see that? It might come up as an intersection. Endpoint is displaying. Click there. Drag upwards a little bit. Click again. So 3 clicks. Origin point, and then the position of the dimension. We're going to do the same again. Now you can just right click and repeat dim linear. I'm going to go down here. Now you'll notice you get a node snap. Your origin points are nodes when you place them. So the origin points for any dimension are nodes. So if you see a node snap, that's great. Click on the node. And then we come over here. I'm going to use this endpoint or intersection here. There's the endpoint there. Now, if I want this to line in, I can hover, and I can also get that node there. Can you see there's a node there, like so? Click there. All lines in nicely. Now, it's all well and good using the node there off of existing dimensions, but you really should be snapping to geometry. Now, my node snap is on, so I'm going to come down here and turn node off in my object snaps. I'll click once in the drawing to close the menu. I'll show you what I mean. If I now right click and repeat dim linear, now I get the endpoint snap, not the node snap. So I'm snapping to the geometry, not the origin point. And same again, endpoint at the end. And we'll come up here. You get an endpoint instead of a node there as well. And they all line in together nicely. So that's easily placing some linear dimension types there. We're going to go back and we're going to go to linear again. Now I'm doing that deliberately because it resets anything and you're back to like a default linear dimension. And I'm going to come off of this endpoint and go up to this endpoint and click. And can you see my 15 comes off of the top, so to speak, vertically? Now, the reason I've done it that way is because I need to go from there to make sure that that 15 goes there. Now, if I do the same again, right-click, repeat dim linear, but go from the top to the bottom, and then come that way, can you see it goes the other way? It orientates the other side, and it means they don't clash in the drawing, if you see what I mean. It just looks nice. Now, the other thing you might want to do there, you might want to pop in another linear. So right-click, repeat dim linear. We might do an overall side view dimension there, endpoint to endpoint. Bring that down a bit and click like so. Now, the good thing is you've been using the appropriate annotation scale. So when you go to the sections and elevations now, that all looks nice and neat on the sections and elevations layout tab. That's because you're using the right annotation scale to tally up with the viewport scale of the viewport there. Jump back to the model tab and zoom out a bit and look at the plan view. Now, obviously the dimensions for this are going to be in the plan view layout there. Hover over the viewport again. And you'll notice this time, standard scale is 1:2 again. Always check the viewport scale, especially when you're using annotative dimensions. So back to the model, we'll pop a few dimensions on the plan view, nothing major. So we'll do some different dimension types. So we'll go for, let's say, a diameter. We'll do a diameter off of this circular hole here. So that is a diameter 60. We then might do a radius off of this arc here. So there's a radius 25 there. We might do a linear on the slotted hole as well. Let's do that from that center line to that center line. Endpoint snap each time. Take that up there. And you might want to pop another radius on that other circle on the right-hand side. So we'll do radius again over here. So you can see there we've got a diameter, a radius, another radius there, and we've also got a linear there. Now, I'll leave it up to you to explore all of the dimension types as you dimension this drawing. But the one thing I want to just get across to you is making sure that your annotation scale is correct. Now, we've been using the annotation scale of 1:2 to make sure it tallies up with the viewports. I'm going to select this radius 25 here, and I'm going to right click, and I'm going to go down to annotative object scale, and I'm going to go to add delete scales. At the moment it's 1:2. I'm going to add another scale to that. I'm going to go for 1:1, and I'm going to OK it, and I'm going to select 1:2, and I'm going to delete it. When I click on OK, keep an eye on this radius 25. It changes because it's now setting itself to be displayed in a 1:1 viewport. But if I now go back to the plan view, that radius 25 isn't there. And it's not there because it's not using a 1:2 annotation scale, because the viewport is 1:2. We've put an annotation scale on that particular dimension of 1:1. So if I go back to the model tab, select our radius 25 again, right click, annotative object scale, add delete scales. So I'll add the 1:2 back. I'll select the 1:1 and delete it and OK it. Notice it goes back to the size it was. When I go back to the plan view now, it displays in the drawing. Back to the model tab. So that's how the annotative part of your annotative dimension style works. And that's how you place some basic dimensions using that annotative dimension style.